Not so sure about that, Instagram. Whatever. All right. I did the best I could. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to give this a second to let a few people tune in before we go ahead and get started. It's like I never learn with technology. It's like every day, every time is the first time. It's always just fresh and brand new. Christina, how are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm good. Good to have you here. It's nice to be back.
Yes, it is.
So welcome, everybody. Welcome on TikTok. Welcome on Instagram. If you can, in fact, see and hear me, that is fairly debatable. Welcome on YouTube and Facebook. Good to have you guys here. This is Roots Revival Interfaith. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera, the psychic medium, a Taino Arawak. I am here with our astrologer, Reverend Christina DelRey. And tonight we're going to be talking about how to be fearless in change. A big topic, a lot of change going on right now. We did part 1, part 2 series on Pluto and Aquarius a few weeks ago, all about huge change happening right now. So if you guys didn't get to catch that, you're going to want to go back. You can go to my YouTube channel at Ask Ivy and go under Roots Revival or go under the live videos. Also, wherever you can download a podcast, we have Roots Revival up. So listen to part 1, part 2 on Pluto in Aquarius and get prepared, okay, on the types of changes that you're going to be looking at. We did break it down by zodiac sign. Then at last week's service, I talked about going it alone, seeing yourself as the resource. If you guys missed that, check that out as well. And then tonight is sort of like the last, okay, of this theme that we've had going here for a while. How to be fearless in change. Now, I want you guys to post your questions and comments, post your prayer and healing requests as well. We do get to those over the course of the week. So even if you're tuning into this later, go ahead and drop your prayer and healing request. I do check them regularly. I do ask everyone, wherever you're tuning in, to give this video a thumbs up right now, subscribe, hit the join button here on YouTube at Ask Ivy if you want to become a member. And donations are appreciated. Before we get into it, I did want to announce that Roots Revival Interfaith we have our incorporation meeting. I'm so excited about this. It's been probably about 10 years in the making, and we're becoming official. All right. So if you guys would like to attend the incorporation meeting, that's going to be on Sunday, March 26th. And we are going to be doing that through Zoom. All right. So big move for Roots Revival Interfaith. Let's go ahead and get right into today's sermon. Okay. So Christina, I'll speak a little bit on a couple different topics here with this angle today, and then I'll switch it on over to you. All right. So how to be fearless in change. There are 3 really common areas that I see my clients, my students, my own self, friends, family struggle with in times of change. And what I wanted to do here today was to break down those 3 different areas that can come and sort of get you, when your guard is not up, it takes you, there's no alert for these types of I want to say programming that have been instilled in you. It's very systematic. It's very automatic. It's very reactionary. And if we don't become more diligent and deliberately mindful when change is going on, that we could fall into any of these 3 categories, all 3 of these categories, it's going to continue to happen. All right. So let's break them down. In a time of change, change is going to, for a human being, create anxiety. Okay. For some of us, depression. For some of us, it's a real trigger and a ton of discomfort. Upset can come along with it. However, we need to remember that without change, there is no growth. There is no leveling up. There is no prosperity. There is no development. So, one of the things I'm always telling my clients and my students is don't fear change. I'm aware that's easier said than done, but I would say that, to get into the practice of seeing the positive aspects of change, all the benefits it could potentially bring if you learn to embrace it, this is going to help you next time it comes around to go with the flow instead of fighting against it. So, I would think of change in this way. And this is anything from, a health condition to a breakup to a job loss, right? Or a new career move or a residency change or having a baby or having your kids leave the nest or whatever it is, okay, that's going on with you. Number one, I want you to remember that the majority of the time, whatever change is occurring is something you actually manifested. It's something that you likely prayed for and hoped for. You may have even written it down at some point and used some manifestation techniques. You tried to trigger law of attraction. You may have even asked the universe for this change by being disgruntled with your current circumstances. And so when you look at your current relationship, you look at your life circumstances and you're saying, this isn't enough. I wish this, I want this to be different. I deserve more of X, Y, and Z. All of a sudden, the universe starts to deliver whatever order it is that you placed. Now, I think of this like, ordering something from Amazon. And then, maybe a couple days later, I'm like, I don't know, should I have gotten that? Do I really need that? Did I overspend? And then all of a sudden it's here and there's this sense of like rushing to get the package, and there's this sort of nervousness about the whole thing. And is it a quality product? What do I do if it doesn't work? Am I going to have to send it back? There's all this sort of nonsense that comes along with manifesting something. And once you've gotten out of your own way enough that the universe is actually delivering it to you, you need to keep on with that energy, okay? Anything in motion stays in motion. That's the law. You've triggered law of attraction in a positive way. Now, that does not mean that you are going to mentally, emotionally, and physically feel as though it's enjoyable, because change for a human being tends to never be. So you need to think, when change has arrived, you have the opportunity to take hold of it and to level up, that you actually asked for this. All right, category number 2. When it's time for change, I think it's important that instead of griping about it or procrastinating on it, acting like something terrible is happening to you, allowing yourself to stress or overthink, okay, losing control of your mind so that you allow yourself to get into cyclical patterns of negative thinking, especially at night, okay, especially when you're laying down to rest. You're entering into your sacred time of sleep. Make sure you are controlling your mind. And one of the ways to do that is to think on your life contract. Think on what it is that you came to Earth to do. Your numerology chart, your astrology chart, your life contract, these all match. And what you understand after looking at these is your purpose, your true life path, what it is that you signed on to do before you came to Earth. So when change is here, whether you think it's the ideal change or not, it is an opportunity for you to choose a high vibration over a low vibration. Use your free will to dictate what direction you're going to take this opportunity to make sure you are going to fulfill your life contract. Not maybe, I don't know, and this isn't really what I want to do. No. I'm going to use this. How can I become empowered to fulfill what I came to Earth to do? So you need to understand, first and foremost, why you're here. If you don't have direction on that, see me for a life contract reading. See Christina for an astrology chart. Get your numerology chart done. Get some clue as to why you're here. This will empower you to go forward through change. And let me tell you, okay, and I would love to see some testimony on this, okay, in the comments section. When you figured out what you were here to do on Earth, did the speed not pick up, okay? Is life not moving like 10 times faster than it ever was before? Is change not constant for you? Yes, it is. And that's a good thing. Okay, that means that you're really ready for it. Okay, you're diving in. You're not just putting your toes in the water anymore. I would also get a little raw with yourself about the reality of reincarnation. We tend to be like, oh wow, life is really interesting. This is a colorful experience. I really don't, I hope I don't have to do this again. All right. And then that's a fine reality, but then what are you doing to prevent that from happening? Okay. We don't want to reincarnate over and over and over and over again, because every single time the opportunity for change shows up in our life, we buckle. Okay. We clench, we end up getting so tied up in anxiety that we don't actually utilize it. No. If you're serious about wanting to fulfill your life contract, check some things off your to-do list and not have to reincarnate and do those things over again. Take change seriously, okay, as an opportunity. Category number 3. When it's time for change, do not look around you. Do not listen around you. Tune out and tune in. When something significant is going on in your life's journey, it has nothing to do with anybody else around you who is a naysayer, who's distracting you, who's siphoning your energy, who's throwing temper tantrums in their own life, who's bringing drama to the table, okay, who's instilling fear in you. Anything and anyone going on around you that's debilitating needs to be tuned out. You need to detach, and you need to master the skill of being introspective as you go through significant changes in your life. I like to use the example of being the eagle. So when I had to leave after investing for about a decade in my journalism career, when I had to leave to go out into the public and start offering psychic mediumship readings about 13 years ago, I cannot tell you the level of discomfort, the sadness, the despair. I cried for 3 years, even though overnight my psychic mediumship business was international and it skyrocketed, and I had a lot to be grateful for. That is not what I wanted to be doing. That is not what I had invested in. And I wanted to dig in more than anything and be, angry and upset and hurt. And when I took on a different perspective and finally gave in and decided that all the fear talk, all the negativity from not only outside of me, but also in my own head that I was creating, what I decided to do was detach from all of that. And I would visualize myself as an eagle flying above the world, above my life, above all of this energy in these circumstances. And I would simply observe and allow things to be what they were. It allowed me to stay in my energy and do what I was supposed to do from a peaceful, calm, centered place without having to deal with the turbulence of the storm. Okay. And what do the other birds do? They're in the storm they're below the storm. Okay. So you have to find some type of technique. And I would use that every time the fear set in, and I would say, oh my God, what have I done? Okay. I would do anything to be able to go backward. Every single time I did that, I would go above and I would get reconnected to being that eagle. You have to find a tool, many tools, okay, that work for you, that you could pull out on a daily basis all day long, even using Post-its, reminder notes, okay, maybe getting a tattoo, maybe using some jewelry that you've put intention into. I don't care what it is, but you have got to be prepared to pull yourself out of that energy when you are literally under attack by your own self and or by others around you and by circumstances around you, okay, that are putting that pressure on you. It's really grinding you down to back away from embracing the change that needs to happen. I do have a free mini class here on YouTube at Ask Ivy called Fighting the Dark, Part 1 and Part 2. And in Fighting the Dark, I talk about the 5 different ways you're going to find yourself under attack when you are at a point of huge opportunity, like we're talking about today. All right, just some things to keep in mind. Christina, I'm going to turn this over to you. Before I do, I just want to encourage you guys, if you are tuning in for the first time, welcome to Roots Revival Interfaith. Thank you for being here. For those of you who are visiting with us again, welcome back. Everybody, please post your prayer and healing requests. Any questions or comments that you have, we are an interactive church, so we will be getting to those. And please do give this video a thumbs up. Donations are always appreciated. Christina.
Wow, I love what you said about being the eagle flying above. I think that's a really wonderful way to detach, because you're supposed to be able to observe yourself and try to observe others. That is a spiritual technique, a meditative technique. I think that we don't realize enough that we are supposed to be changing all the time. We tend to get too comfortable with contentment, and we don't realize that we should be really, when there is something really wonderful going on, you should be looking at it and being grateful daily for it, because everything changes. Everything good comes to an end. Everything bad comes to an end. So we have to really kind of embrace that. You know, if you're in a really good high point in your life right now, it's going to end. If you're in a really crappy point in your life, that's going to end too. So we have to sort of have the mindset of, I'm going to be very grateful and present in the moment so that I can enjoy it now. It's here. Maybe I prayed for it. I did things to get it here. Now I need to enjoy it. But I also can't get too complacent either, because not only are we supposed to be changing, but we're always supposed to be leveling up as well. And, you know, let's say you get the dream job. Okay, great. Well, then maybe your leveling up is going to be in your personal life. You know, maybe it's going to be parenting. Maybe it's going to be in a relationship. But nobody's perfect. What we have to really understand is that what we hate with change too is that we're so uncomfortable, and then we have to do something that we don't know how to do. Well, that's the point. The point is to do something that you haven't done, because your soul has that contract. So I would say, you know, wherever Saturn is, that is going to be the placement that makes you feel the most uncomfortable. And if you look at your Saturn placement, that is really where you're supposed to do the most work as well, to gain confidence. Because, you know, with Saturn, it's not like, you know, it's not easy change. It's change that you work for. You put the time in, and then you get the rewards after. So I think baby steps, gaining confidence in change, you know, like we have to give ourselves some grace. We have to allow for our weaknesses, to be okay with our weaknesses. And if we're not okay with our weaknesses, that's something we are working baby steps towards. We're regimenting a plan. Now, I know I am a person, when there is some kind of uncomfortable change, I immediately need a plan. Like, even if it's just to get me through the day or the week or the hour, but it's like I have to have some kind of plan. So, so I take those baby steps. What do I need to gain confidence so that I can set this up so that I can be comfortable in this change and I can capitalize on my strengths, but I can also work on my weaknesses, because I think that's another thing too with aging, getting older. I think I don't care that people see my weaknesses anymore. I just don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I have weaknesses, you have weaknesses. Big deal. You know what I mean? But I know I'm working on myself, and that's all that really matters. I can't expect perfection from myself. If you can't expect perfection when change is going on. You just have to kind of, it's like jumping into the deep end of the swimming pool. You kind of have to sink or swim, and sometimes you will sink and sometimes you will swim. And that is how you are fearless in change. You have to accept that you're going to fail, and then eventually you're going to be okay. I think that, we have to remember that we're supposed to change, but also too, we have to give ourselves, we have to, like Ivy said, like Reverend Ivy said, you have to float above. So that means, taking care of your health, regardless of what's going on, eating well, taking care of your digestion, meditating. Ask yourself, what do I need to be happy? What in it, start with small things. Do I need a cup of coffee? Is that going to make me happy? Like, you just have to, how can I deal with this moment, these really uncomfortable moments at this particular time? Another one, I also think you have to let go of the fact that you don't have control over it. That is a big thing with humans. It's a big thing with everyone, I think. Some maybe more worse than others, but any control that you feel like you have is just an illusion anyway. The only thing that you can control is what you're going to do next. What action you're going to take with what is presented to you in that moment. So you have to really trust in spirit, and that comes with building a relationship with spirit, building a relationship with your guides, because when my divorce came, that was a lot of change, and it was unexpected change. And I was like, okay, you know what? I've been talking about a lot of this stuff for a while. Now I have to go do it. Now I have to jump into the pool. I have to jump into the swimming pool. Am I going to have a few fails? Absolutely. But you know what? I'm going to be okay, because I trust that spirit's leading me in the right direction. Very often, there was a couple of questions I had this week. Should I buy this? Should I do this? I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have spirit guide me on that. So, whatever messages I get, I'll know which way to go. And you know what? The messages were no, you shouldn't do that. And that's okay. So, I ask for signs and I go within. And, regardless of what's going around you, you just have to trust. Maybe other people are operating from a place of fear. And it's not that you don't feel fear. It's just that you're not acting from a place of fear. You know what I mean? Like, to be fearless. So you have to just kind of almost get excited for the changes that are coming, because they're coming whether you're a negative Nelly or you're excited about it. So you have a choice there. How can I get excited about these changes and try to make the best of the situation? Because it might actually be something that you really wanted. And that, and if you are following your life contract, yes, there will be those blocks. So you definitely need to watch those videos, and Ivy, really outlines how to fight the dark. And when you're on the right track, that's when the biggest roadblocks come up, when you start to level up. So there's no leveling up without change. And you don't really have a choice but to level up, because if you decide, okay, well, I'm just going to stay where I'm at, not going to change, everything will change anyway. It'll just do it with you being resistant to it, and it'll be that much more painful. So I think that you have to realize there are phases in life, and they will never stay the same. They might stay the same for a few years and you get really comfortable with that, but that is just never going to, it's never going to always be the same. I think that also too, it's important to remember we're all learning as we go. You know, when none of us have it figured out. If we did, we wouldn't be here. You know, we have to use what we have. So we have eclipse energies, we have new moons, we have full moons, to manifest these high vibrations within our soul contract. So yes, having a direction from a reading, you know, and also just listening to your own intuition. There's so many classes that Ivy teaches you how to do it yourself. You don't need us. You know what I mean? You can do it yourself. Whether that be using tarot cards or just, you know, empathic training, or, you know, like really the whole idea is for you to gain that relationship with spirit so that times of change are not as horrible as they might be without it, because you're not alone. You have spirit. You know, you just have to follow the guidance. So I guess that's what I would say. I would say it's important to remember we're all learning as we go. We just have to make those high vibrational choices, you know.
Oh, there are so many. I've got like 15 notes from what you said. I don't want to go over the hour, you know, that we normally do. So I'm just going to pick a couple things. And before I start playing off of what you talked about here, as I'm listening to Christina, I'm realizing how many of the things I've manifested in my own life were very tall orders. Now, I didn't know that when I asked for them, when I prayed for such things, you know, when I manifested these things, when I said, I have had it with my current circumstances. This is what I deserve. This is what I want to have. This is what I'm visualizing. This is what I'm claiming. When I did that, I did not know what would be required for the universe to actually deliver it to me. Past life blocks removed, past life trauma resolved, shadow work, karmic chapters ending or closing, generational curses having to be broken, my programming having to come down, tower moments, cleaning out people I thought belonged in my life. All kinds of things had to happen because what I ordered was big. I didn't know that. I thought it was just a change, but my life, for the way my life has been set up, that's what had to occur to make room. Okay, you got to clear out the old to make room for the new. All of these things. So many of us live thinking we are in a traumatized state of, you know, just random existence. It's just chaos, and it's sort of like just hell. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It could be transformation. I mean, I don't know what a caterpillar is doing in the cocoon, but it looks pretty gross to me. Okay. And I'm pretty sure, and when they come out, they don't look too good either. Okay. I don't care that they have wings, and we love butterflies. It's like if you flip that bug under, you know, you look underneath on a butterfly, it's got legs and it's creepy. It's got this exoskeleton. I mean, it's like, that's what we went through. That's what we're going through. So I think that we have to be realistic that maybe somebody else can just say, I want this thing, and they manifest it, and it's easy for them, and it's not a big deal. But if you do it, there could be all kinds of blocks and obstacles in the way that have to be removed in order for you to have it. So you've got to be willing to put in that work. And I even think that what we want, what we desire, what we yearn for is in direct, it's relational to what we have to let go of. That's the point. If we didn't want that, we would never do this hard work. Okay. And the bigger point of everything is to evolve. It is to grow. It is to learn. It's sort of like saying the journey, you know, not the destination. So ultimately, the things that we want, the things that we ask for, the things that we claim, we really want, not even because of those things necessarily, but because of the growth that will be required in order to achieve it. And so I kept hearing that when Christina was talking. Now, the other thing I love about, and Christina, when you said, as I get older, I care less, 100%, I'm feeling that. All right. But what I really like about this too is that as we get older, and it may not be for everyone, but I have found it true for myself. I know you have as well. We've talked about this. Self-love gets easier, not in all areas, but in the ways that we are breaking free of this very driven machine-like, lifestyle that we've taken on, where we're not allowed to feel, we're not allowed to slow down, we're not allowed to think. And, we are, as we get older, more inclined to stop on a regular basis and say, okay, hold on, what do I need? And more importantly, what you said is, what do I want? And if it's stopping to have a coffee at the beach in the middle of the day, okay, if it's getting a candy bar to enjoy in your room later on at night, if it's taking some downtime for yourself, or buying that book, or doing that meditation, or, taking a break. I brought in a new method this week because I'm trying to finish writing the Symbology book. And I brought in 2 new techniques that are 100% working for me. And I shared these techniques with someone else who said, well, that's not going to work for me. Well, I don't want to hear that. And this person is beyond stuck and one of the most fearful people I've ever met in regards to change and growth. And I said, I must be on the right track. New level, new devil. So I embraced these 2 new techniques in, like an elephant, one bite at a time, eating away at this book I'm trying to write. And I'm telling you, the one technique that works the best is taking a 5-minute break. Okay. After you put in 30 minutes of hardcore work, 5 minutes for yourself, doing whatever it is, being mindful to recoup. And I was thinking, this is not something I would have been open to in my 30s or my 20s or my teens, but now in my 40s, I gobbled that up, that piece of wisdom, So pay attention, younger, and I wish we had, and I know younger generations are doing it more. You're more mindful of taking care of yourself, okay? But how, in the midst of change, can you do more things that you not only need, okay, self-care, but want, like Christina said, self-love throughout the day, okay? Not once a year on your vacation in Florida. Yeah, Christina, anything else before we get to questions or comments?
I think, like, as far as, you have to really, when you start out, when you're young, I should say, you're really not super confident. You really care about what other people think because you really haven't built anything yet. So I think that, the earlier you start building something skill-wise, the better you will have a more confident base. And then it's a little easier to push yourself out of your comfort zone when change does occur, So, I mean, it's never too late to start building confidence. So that's true as well. But it's really like sticking with something, and doing it over and over again until you become really good at it. But I think what you were saying too, family karma and karmic curses, and that was one thing that Spirit kept saying to me as well. Those are really deep. I was just talking to my mom yesterday, actually, and I said, well, look at the karma of women not being able to drive in our family, and it's like, so my mom didn't drive till she was like 27. I didn't drive till I was like 25. We were all very fearful of driving. My grandmother didn't drive till much later. My other grandmother did not drive at all. And my aunt didn't drive, you know what I mean? Like it was one of these things. I don't know why, like, you drive now. I drive now and I don't think much about it, but I didn't get my license until I was 25. So, you know what I mean? Like, so this was like, I mean, it sounds really stupid, but it's generational karma. It's in my DNA and it was my job to break it. So, so I'm trying to encourage my daughters to break that, as well. So I don't know. I think that family karma runs deep. Yours is going to be different from everybody else's. And you have to remember that. Like, you have to remember that everybody's here on their own contract. And your family karma is deep within your DNA. And it's not something that you can escape from. Not if you're adopted, not if you move away from them, nothing. That's in your soul contract and in your, in your chart. So it's like, you have no choice but to confront those demons until you can get them. I mean, and that's just like, we have way more family karma than that. That's just a small example. But, you just have to kind of think at the starting point and how you can sort of baby step your way to the end point that you want.
Beautiful. 100%. I just want to encourage you guys, if you haven't already done so, post your questions and comments. Now we're going to be taking them. We are an interactive church. And if you have a prayer or a healing request, go ahead and post them. If you're tuning in even later, you can always post them in the comment section. We do go back and check them over the course of the weeks. So we are going to get on to any questions or comments. I have two different producers here tonight, Mary and Mairead. So thank you both. All right. I do not have my glasses. Patty Novak Williams says, yes, I like the bird idea. Thank you. I experienced that in my 30s and it was all fast moving. Now at 61, I'm not quite ready for a grind. I've been sick twice. It forced me into early retirement. Okay, a lot of change. I don't feel like I'm ready to completely retire in the change, and I'm not sure where to go from here. So, I'm just feeling like I want to encourage you, or like Spirit wants to encourage you to start thinking about the things that you do want. Instead of saying, I don't want this, I didn't plan to get sick, this is being taken from me, what can I create from this space? It's like having a blank canvas. What do you want? How can you paint this? What have you not finished? I don't care if it just seems like a random hobby, I was always going to get into photography, but I never did. Okay, let's start with that. Look at the things in your life that you've wanted to do or that you feel inspired by or that hold your attention. What holds your attention? And start feeding more of that and see where it leads. It could be a really surprising journey down that path, but it's good to have something to focus on forward so that you're not always looking back at what you're leaving behind you.
Yeah, I think too, like this is a new chapter. So this is like exciting actually, like so maybe you're not ready for a full-time gig. That's okay. We live in a time that is so exciting because everything is at our fingertips on the internet. I mean, you can virtually learn almost anything online. And I think you should take whatever strengths you had in your job and use that as your base, figure out what you want to do, and then start building on that confidence, start building on what you've already accomplished, but go in a different direction, use that as your base, but then you're going to go learn something new, learn a new skill. I mean, there's nothing more empowering than learning something new. If you like to socialize with people, get out there and do something with people, but like how are you going to serve Spirit? How are you going to serve next? Should be your question, and ask your spirit guides for signs, lead me to the right thing. What if you heard something 3 times in one day? That might be it might be like, oh, well, maybe I'm supposed to pay attention to that. Maybe I should go do that. You know what I mean? So
here's the sign. As Christina, as you're saying that to her, she types. Okay, it's coming out of your mouth and she types simultaneously. Okay, here's some synchronicity. Drawn to people and helping in a love-focused way. Ta-da. Yep. Okay. What more do you need to know? That's the next step. And that's all sometimes the universe is going to give is here's your next step. Take it.
Yeah. And it might, maybe it'll only be a short-term thing, but that might lead you to something else and like networking, you know what I mean? So it's just, you just got to get, like, this is the thing I tell my mom, you just got to push yourself out of the house, push yourself out there, and then the rest will take care of itself.
Yep, we get rewarded. We have to create motion, so one step out, next step gets revealed. We very rarely in life get all the ducks in a row and get to see everything in advance. Just doesn't really work that way. All right, we have another question or comment coming in here from a Lucy Marsh. I'm in phase 1 of building. I'm finding it so hindering to care what others think instead of inner peace and strength from myself. Definitely letting go of control and embracing the uncomfortable. So this is so important. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. We live in a society that's all about getting comfortable, right? Instant gratification and all the time. How can I be happy? How can I be at ease? How can I be, life is uncomfortable. And I think there are things in life we should not tolerate that are toxic for us. Change is not one of them. We have to get comfortable with the discomfort level that comes with change. This is an area to embrace. And I think it's really hard. Lucy, I know is, she's a friend of mine, but she was also, an employee, and she's a little bit younger. I want to say for all of you in maybe your 20s and your 30s, you're younger than that are tuning in, it can be really hard to tune everybody outside of you out when you're not, like Christina said earlier, established enough to be super duper confident. You haven't done enough. So there's this tendency, to lean into old habits, which are just being directed. Everybody directs you, you're still being treated like your child. And you may seek that out. And it may be really hard to tune out other people's instruction, whether it's coming from a good place in them or not. It doesn't mean that it's good for you necessarily, and it's about knowing that you ultimately will know ahead of time psychically when change is coming, and that you will know in your gut instinct, in your higher mind, and the universe will always tell you which is the right way to go, as will spirit. So, hey, if other people's opinions, I don't care if you've been taking those opinions your whole life, if other people's opinions don't match that, guess what you're going to have to choose.
Yeah, and it's difficult, especially when you're in a surroundings with people who, are critical of you. So you do have to be careful of your surroundings. But if you can't help it, I would say you just have to do the little wins. When you're building something, you build it brick by brick. That is not a fun process. That's not, it's not a fast process. It's a very slow process. And even a Saturn transit is typically 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years. So every 2.5 to 3 years, you're building a part of your life. So it takes that long to see some reward from it too. And most people, if you are really in a building phase, congratulate yourself just for that, because most people don't stick with anything to build. I don't know, out there's a lot of people who just want to be instantly famous, you know what I mean? And they don't think that they have to put the work in, but the work is part of the process. It's part of the building, and it does not come easy. And yeah, let those naysayers, we always say, haters gonna hate. They're always gonna hate. But you just keep your focus, and you keep building, and you keep building, and you try to keep your peace by keeping your bubble around you, and and keeping people that close to you that are good for you and will build you up. And it's not something that's going to happen fast. It's just going to be over time, and it's those little wins that you have to capitalize on, at least in my opinion.
100%. I would agree. And the way you said, Christina, that a Saturn transit, people know your astrology. You must. Okay. I don't know where I would be if I wasn't meeting with Christina like twice a year. Okay. I really don't. You have to know these things. You have to know when they're coming, because you're going to be feeling it. Okay. So don't just get anxious. You have to know when it's ending. Okay. So you do have some sense of light at the end of the tunnel. You got something to hold on to. But the way Christina said, a Saturn transit, for example, is big change, but it takes 3 years. ballpark. Well, I would say that if you are building something during that time of big change, you're looking at 8 to 10 years before you may feel comfortable in it, before you may really know and understand it. 8 to 10 years for like building a business or really getting into a new career. And I think that, again, we do live in a society of instant gratification. 8 to 10 years. If you hear that and you're like, oh no, you want to make a bet, because you could start over and over and over and over again if you want to play that way. But things do take time.
Yeah.
So get comfortable with the longevity of things. And
Yeah.
I was thinking,
slow and steady wins the race.
Slow and steady wins the race. I say that all the time. I'll be giving a reading. I'll see the tortoise and the hare. That childhood, where the rabbit ran and took a nap and then like didn't win, right? And so the tortoise won the race. Somebody just sent me new research too on businesses, statistics on how many businesses fell. I was shocked at how by the 5th year, 72% of businesses have failed. And, I will say that by using these techniques, I'm in the 13th year. And this was a complete shift out of journalism and into this uncharted territory. I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to do any of this, right? But slow and steady wins the race. And that's through the pandemic. That's through a recession. You have to stay steady.
You learned on the job.
Yeah. And be willing to learn. Like you were saying earlier, be willing to admit that you have no idea. Be willing to admit that you just don't know,
It's like when you become a parent, you don't have any idea what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. You could read as many parenting books as you want.
Know what you're doing. Yeah. You don't know what you're doing. No. Nope. Any other questions or comments coming in here? Mary Sykes says, I was diagnosed with cancer 2 months ago. When I asked why, I was told it was because I had asked to be healthy and that this had to happen for it to be found, removed, and treated. It was a huge learning experience. I'm sorry. And at the same time, I love what you said here about understanding that if you want something, then it's like saying every time the bus stops, somebody's got to get off. In order for a new door to open, another door has to close. What am I going to have to let go of in order to have this thing? Kudos for being willing to go through that journey.
Yeah. And I'm sure that she didn't mention it, but I'm sure that this completely changed her lifestyle too. You know what I mean? Because that was obviously something that had to be looked at, because, okay, I'm not doing something right. I'm either giving too much of my energy away. I'm caring for others too much. You know what I mean? Something there was out of balance, and her body is letting her know that something has to be drastically done to change that. Huge life lessons. I know, because women give so much of themselves, they often do get cancer. And, that has a lot to do with it. So I really hope that you are, 100% cured.
Mm-hmm. And the root issue, that's, really.
Root issue, and it with cancer, I just find that it has something to do with not giving enough of you to yourself and too much to others. It's like your energy has to go back into your body, into your cells, because there's just not enough of it in there. So, and then it happens a lot when people have a lot of kids, or, it's just, that's a big signal to change.
And I'm finding more and more working with people's life contracts and comparing life contracts over to Christina's astrology charts, because we've been fascinated with this for 13 years. We've been playing off of each other, but not only that they're identical. Yes, we talk about that all the time. A life contract is identical to an astrology chart, right? Okay, fine. But the thing is, something like what Mary chose for herself in her life contract, in her astrology, in her planets, she chose to conquer in this life health issues. And so it came, the biggest eruption, or the most recent, eruption anyways, is this cancer coming to the forefront. Now, here's the other thing I think is amazing, and this is where we want to embrace change again. I bet any money she's also knocking off 5, 6, 7 other things in her life contract. This could put her into light work. This could help her as a healer.
Like
this
a catalyst.
It's a catalyst for
Mhm.
all these other outlets
Mhm.
in her life contract. It's never just one thing that we're completing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, she said she had 5 kids. That's what I was thinking in my head too, but yeah, that, and you know, like as far as women go too, you know, we suck it up. We don't go to the hospital for every little thing, you know, we just kind of suck it up because we have kids to take care of or we have things to do. So, you know, we have to really, as women, we have to pay attention to ourselves more often.
Yeah, we are breaking some major generational curses and going through a huge revolution. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're all collectively amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that, Mary. And we are sending you healing and, you know, also, you know, a lot of focus and insight on this journey for you. Do we have any other questions or comments coming in? I think we are at time. Okay, good. We are at time. So closing words on today's sermon, Christina, or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
What do I want to say? I don't have anything. How to be fearless in change. What would I say about being fearless in change? Just detach from your emotion. I have found that the minute I start to have like heart palpitations, or I feel drained emotionally, or I notice bad dreams, you know, and things coming up, I'm like, all right, I got to get control of this now. All right, this is it. These are fear-based thoughts, which is ego, fear, manipulation, control. It's triggering my emotions, which are triggering my physical state. Okay. And that's it. I'm stopping it right here. I will not feed those parts of myself. I will choose to focus on the ultimate goal or the positive aspects or the gratitude or even not knowing and being determined to get more comfortable in that discomfort. And if all I do that day is breathe on through it, I'm going to take that as a huge success. But I will not feed the fear.
I think that's so important. And I think my breathing has really helped me in meditation. I do tend to lift through the chakras and out my head, and that does seem to raise my vibration. So I do that a lot. But also too, I stopped doing things because I should do them, or peer pressure, like other moms around me, because they do it this way. Well, guess what? I don't do it that way. And I don't care what you think. I have to take care of me. And, you know, I am a Leo, so we do like tend to focus on ourselves, but, you know, I'm a mom too. And I do focus on my children, but I always make sure that I have some time for myself because I know that I can't give what I don't have. And I don't know. I just think to be fearless, part of that is taking care of yourself so that you can be up for the challenge. Change is going to happen whether we like it or not. And we have to find a way to deal with it. We have to find a way, and whatever way that is, if that way is right for you and it's pushing you in the right direction, then do it and don't care what anybody else thinks.
Amen to that. Right on. All right. Couple suggestions. If you guys are tuning in late, divine timing, when to make a move here. Okay. On YouTube at Ask Ivy in the playlist, divine timing, when to make a move. Last week's church service, going it alone, seeing yourself as the resource, and Fighting the Dark, part 1 and part 2. New level, new devil. You're about to make big changes. You get attacked in 5 different ways. Expect it. It's like a science. Be prepared for it. Watch these things. Get yourself some help on the way through it. And again, post your prayer and healing requests. We will be getting to them in the upcoming weeks. And we appreciate you guys tuning in here with us. We'll be back in a few weeks, but we do have our incorporation meeting Sunday, March 26th if you want to join us. I believe that's at 3 p.m. And Christina, thank you so much for being here again for another great service. Thank you, Mary and Mairead, for producing. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Spirit. Have a great week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.